It was supposed to be just another night in Blackridge Penitentiary, one of the toughest prisons in the southern United States. Guards patrolled the endless gray corridors. Lights buzzed above the steel doors, and the monotonous rhythm of confinement dragged on as it always did. But by dawn, the prison would be unrecognizable. Fires would burn in the yard. Gunshots would echo through the halls. Bodies, both guards and inmates, would lie in pools of blood. It would go down in history as one of the deadliest mass escapes the state had ever seen. On paper, it was simple. Dozens of inmates overwhelmed the guards, breached the gates, and chaos exploded. But behind the official report, behind the smokescreen of riot and escape attempt, there was another truth. A truth that revealed betrayal, cover-ups, and a plan so carefully crafted that the chaos looked less like desperation and more like execution. This is the story of the mass escape that cost lives. Blackridge Penitentiary was a fortress, built in the late 1970s to house over 2,000 inmates. Surrounded by thick concrete walls and multiple layers of razor wire, it was considered inescapable. The prison housed a volatile mix: gang leaders, drug traffickers, killers serving life sentences, and desperate men with nothing to lose. For years, Blackridge simmered with tension. Reports of overcrowding, abuse, and inhumane conditions filled local newspapers. Guards worked overtime shifts, understaffed and exhausted. Inmates complained of spoiled food, lack of medical care, and violence ignored by staff. It was a powder keg waiting for a spark. Among the inmates was Miguel Herrera, a former cartel lieutenant known for his ruthless discipline. Herrera was serving multiple life sentences for murder and trafficking. But even inside Blackridge, his influence was undeniable. Guards knew better than to cross him. Inmates either followed him or feared him. Then there was Darnell Big D Jackson, a towering figure with ties to one of the state's most dangerous prison gangs. Unlike Herrera, Big D wasn't quiet or calculating. He was loud, brutal, and used fear as his only currency. Though Herrera and Big D came from rival worlds, inside Blackridge they found common ground. Both men hated the system that caged them. Both men had the loyalty of dozens of inmates. And both men, it turned out, were planning something that would shake the prison to its core. The guards had no idea. Or maybe they did. By early spring of 1998, tension inside Blackridge Penitentiary reached a boiling point. Inmates whispered about mistreatment, spoiled food, and nights without heat. Guards, stretched thin by long shifts, barely kept order. Rumors began to circulate. Rumors of a big night that no one could clearly define. At the center of those whispers were Miguel Herrera and Darnell Big D Jackson, two men from rival factions, now quietly working together. To most inmates, it seemed impossible. Herrera's cartel loyalists and Big D's prison gang had been enemies for years, but somehow they had found a way to unite. The plan was simple in theory, but devastating in execution. Overwhelm the guards, breach the yard, and scatter into the surrounding countryside. It wasn't just escape. It was war. On the night of April 3rd, 1998, the prison seemed calm. Lights flickered along the tiers, guards made their rounds, and most inmates were locked in for the night. But just after midnight, chaos erupted. It began with a fire in the laundry room, small at first, then spreading quickly as sheets and uniforms ignited. Sirens blared, sprinklers sputtered, and guards rushed to contain it. At the same moment, Herrera's men struck. Smuggled shanks and makeshift clubs appeared from hiding spots. Inmates swarmed the control desk on cell block C, overpowering two guards before they could call for backup. Down the hall, Big D's gang created their own diversion, smashing lights, breaking locks, and flooding toilets until water poured through the corridors. In the darkness and confusion, hundreds of inmates began to riot. Within minutes, the prison was a battlefield. Guards tried to form defensive lines, but they were vastly outnumbered. Radios crackled with desperate calls for reinforcements. Herrera moved with precision. His men targeted the armory, where a handful of shotguns and rifles were stored. Once inside, they armed themselves, and the balance of power shifted. Big D, meanwhile, led a violent charge toward the yard gates. Inmates rammed makeshift battering rams against the steel doors, shouting over the blare of alarms. Guards fired warning shots, but the crowd surged forward. In the confusion, inmates who wanted no part in the escape were trapped as well. Some cowered in corners, others were trampled underfoot. The air filled with smoke, screams, and the deafening echo of gunfire. By 2 Hoke A. The prison was unrecognizable. Fires raged in multiple blocks. Gunshots cracked through the night. Bodies, guards, and inmates alike lay scattered across the concrete floors. The official count would later confirm what survivors already knew. This was no simple escape attempt. It was a massacre. 3 guards were killed in the first hour, ambushed and beaten before they could reach safety. More than a dozen inmates were dead, either shot in the chaos or stabbed in gang skirmishes that erupted amid the larger riot. And still, dozens pushed toward freedom. When the yard gates finally gave way, a surge of inmates poured into the open air. Some scaled the razor wire despite shredding their hands and faces. Others sprinted toward the outer fences, where waiting getaway cars, organized by Herrera's outside contacts, waited in the darkness. By dawn, nearly 50 inmates had escaped. State troopers and helicopters swarmed the area, but the damage was done. Rural communities miles away were warned to lock their doors, and headlines screamed of the Blackridge mass escape. The official story told of desperation, of inmates pushed too far by poor conditions and broken systems. But whispers inside the prison suggested something far more sinister. Because in the middle of the chaos, certain doors had opened far too easily. Certain security systems had failed at just the right time. And some guards, it seemed, had simply disappeared. By sunrise on April 4th, 1998, Blackridge Penitentiary looked like a war zone. Smoke rose from burned-out blocks. Windows were shattered, alarms still wailed, and blood stained the concrete floors. The governor declared a state of emergency. Hundreds of officers swept the countryside in pursuit of the fugitives. Within 48 hours, most of the escapees were back in custody, either captured in roadblocks or abandoned by the chaos they thought would set them free. But a handful vanished into the shadows, never seen again. The official narrative described it as a spontaneous riot that spun out of control. Overcrowding, poor conditions, and desperation were blamed. The public was told it was inevitable. But those inside Blackridge knew better. The riot had not been chaos. It had been orchestrated. Whispers spread that Miguel Herrera had bribed several guards in the weeks before the escape. Key doors had opened too easily, alarms had failed at suspiciously convenient times, and entire shifts of officers had been reassigned at the last minute. The fire that sparked the riot? Too perfectly timed to be an accident. And while Herrera's cartel loyalists and Big D's gang had seemed united, witnesses later claimed the alliance had been an illusion. In the confusion, Big D's men were pushed to the front lines, absorbing most of the bullets and casualties, while Herrera's inner circle slipped through the chaos toward waiting cars. Herrera himself was never recaptured. To some, it looked less like a failed escape and more like a surgical extraction. In the years since, The Blackridge mass escape has become legend. Officially, it is remembered as one of the deadliest prison riots in state history. 50 escapees, more than 15 dead, countless injured. A tragedy born of desperation. Unofficially, it is whispered as a cover-up. Some say corrupt guards were paid to look the other way. Others believe the prison administration itself allowed the riot to happen, using the chaos as an excuse to secure more funding and expand control. For the families of the dead, guards and inmates alike, answers never came. Reports were sealed, names redacted, and testimony buried under bureaucracy. Blackridge still stands today, rebuilt and reinforced, its walls taller and its security tighter. Yet the scars remain in the stories of those who lived through that night. And the questions linger. Did dozens of men die because of desperation? Or because a handful of powerful people engineered their deaths to free one man? Was it a riot born of injustice, or a conspiracy disguised as chaos? The official record says little. Just another riot and escape attempt. But behind the sterile language lies the chilling truth. A mass escape that cost lives, and a secret that still hides behind Blackridge's walls.